Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. Last day of July. It's hard to believe that we are almost into August. I just wanted to welcome everybody today to our Lunch and Learn hosted by PACE, the Parent Advocates for Choice in Education. I'm super excited today for the panels that we've got here today, but I sort of want to recap of sort of where we've been and where we're headed. This is our 12th Lunch and Learn, which seems crazy that we've been doing this sort of that long. And we started sort of a series of looking at school choice options, and we started off with looking at what is school choice. We brought in Andrew Campanella and Molly Masick. Then we started looking at what are the different types of school choices offered in Michigan. We started off with a brick and mortar charter. Now we're jumping into virtual schools and true virtual schools and what those look like. So I'm really excited to have my colleagues here for my normal day-to-day job to join me today from Michigan International Prep School. So before we get started, though, I know a lot of folks are interested in the raffle, and that's maybe one of the reasons that you signed up to come today. So in order to be entered into our raffle, you have to head on over to mipace.org/membership, and you can become a free member of PACE. And then that will be, the winner will be drawn from those that have attended, posted in coming days. So if at any point in time you have any questions for our panelists as we're talking today, please throw those questions into the chat pod, and we'll kind of go through those as we go, and we'll leave some time at the end for questions as well. So today I am excited to have with me Andrew Hulbert, the superintendent at Michigan International Prep School, Logan Dean, the director of mentoring, and Shambria Mack, a parent of 2 students at the school. So welcome, you 3. Thanks for joining me today. I want to just kind of jump right in and get started because there's so much here to unpack when we think about virtual learning. So Drew, I want to start with you. Can you sort of walk me through the path that led you to, maybe for start with like that led you to education, and then in turn led you to actually starting your own school?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So thank you again for having me today. Very happy to join you. So I would say that I never anticipated in becoming an educator, even though I had a mother that told me when I was 5 years old that I would become a teacher. I fought her all the way until I decided that at the early ages of 20s, in my young 20s, that I wanted to make a difference. And I felt what I was doing at the time wasn't moving the needle for other people. And so I chose to go back and get an education degree and taught for a number of years. But what really led me to becoming, kind of stepping outside of the traditional norm was what I felt in the classroom of being able to really encompass, the core students, the middle of the road students, your typical student that would really be successful in most environments that they would be put in. But yet there was the handful of students that were excelling, that were kind of excelling on their own. And then there were the handful of students that were really trying to keep up, and it was really difficult for them. Or there was a handful of kids that, that style of learning just didn't work for them. And I kept seeing that there were some outliers. If you look at your normal bell curve, those either end of that curve were just not being addressed. And it never sat well with me. I always struggled with it. I wasn't a poor student, but I was really a disenfranchised student. And so I felt like a lot of these students, especially the ones that were struggling, were a little disenfranchised, didn't like the style, just didn't fit into that normal box. And so I felt like in a traditional public school environment, there's only so much innovation that you could bring before you started to run up against sports boosters, traditional zip code issues that have come with the times of being a neighborhood school. And so I really felt like we could develop what I would coin as the neighborhood school online, because we really wanted to individualize and serve kids on a one-on-one level without having bell curve outliers. Like there shouldn't be those groups. So if we could find ways to implement strategies that are individualized for every kid, encompass what their interests are, what their family values are, and those kind of things, we could really develop educational pathways for every single student that was unique for them. And virtual allowed us the flexibility and the nimbleness to really do that well. And I'd say that we're getting much closer to refining how well we're able to do that. But it's been a process to really create those pathway opportunities. And I think everybody on the call would attest that We can see why not everybody does that, because it's not real easy to do. And every year we get a little better and we learn lessons from our years in past. And so Michigan International Prep School was born for students that just wanted to do something a little different than the traditional education, whether it's family value issues, whether it's learning style issues, whether it was because I'm a sports athlete and I need a full flexible schedule. Whatever that looked like for that individual, our job now is to create educational pathways to fit them.
So Drew, I want to take that a step further. So we keep talking about individual pathways, and I'm going to push you here because I know the answer to this already. But when we're talking about individual pathways, what does that mean? Because I think of, like, as a student, if I just come in, I'm going to be given work to do, and I have to do that work and sort of comply to what that stereotypical student looks like. What does it mean to find an individual pathway, and how is Michigan International Prep School doing that?
Excellent question. And it's going to be a different answer for what age band you're in. So if you're in the kindergarten through fifth grade, your family really has the opportunity to select whether you want an asynchronous pathway, where you basically you do your learning with your family at the pace and time what best fits the family. But over the last couple of years, we've been putting a lot of energy and resources into creating a synchronous model where parents and families can follow along with the curriculum, get the full live lessons of our certified, highly qualified teachers here at MIPS. And they've developed a curriculum that's really robust for students of all ages. And it allows us to differentiate the curriculum to the family needs. And additionally, every elementary classroom has what we call an elementary mentor. They're able to even take that differentiation and those family needs to a new level, a level that a teacher just wouldn't have the capacity or time to do. The mentor takes that and puts it on steroids, and we're seeing service levels for the family, no matter what their needs are. Because again, I mentioned that families come to us for all different reasons, whether it's religious reasons, whether it's, schedule reasons, whatever that looks like. It's our job and our mentor's job and our teacher's job to determine what learning looks like for that family. And how do we adjust that pathway to make that work? Middle school, we've spent tons of resources the last couple of years building a synchronous model, but we're really strong on our asynchronous. So again, in that middle school realm, we have a lot of the same qualities that we've done in the elementary. They're just a little different for the age bracket. And then in high school, all rules are, well, I don't want to say it that way. All things are possible. We work to get to yes for a student's pathway. So if a student really wants to, let's say they're real big into video games, well, we got to find how to hone that into their academics, how to get them motivated into the academic learning side of things while embracing their gaming love. And so we've developed an esports opportunity where kids have extracurriculars, but also we're bringing in college courses and college pathways that are going to allow for game design, for coding, for whatever that looks like for the interests of that student. And so we're really trying to identify what the needs are first, and then finding solutions to those needs for every single student that enrolls.
Love that. So Logan, this is a great segue to kind of jump over to you. I'm going to backtrack a little bit here and then move forward to build off of what Drew just said. But first off, walk me through what led you to Michigan International Prep School. How'd you land here? And sort of, can you kind of define your role for me here?
Absolutely. So started with Michigan International Prep School about 5 years ago, and it's a decision I did not take lightly. My wife was pregnant with our second child at the time, and I spent the better part of beginning my career about 8 years in business. And so when we were having our kids, and I had just such a passion for developing youth, developing kids, it's something that just came very naturally to me, and something that every day I woke up, I thought about a lot, and bringing out the best in our youth and in our kids. And so it's something that when I changed careers from business to education, definitely didn't take it lightly, but I also didn't, I wanted to do it creatively. And Michigan International Prep School being an innovative, creative school, I was way more interested in the side of soft skills and routine and the things that when everybody says, how come the schools don't teach X, Y, Z for kids? I was interested in that. And so when Michigan International Prep School had a program, a mentoring program specifically focused on those things that I wish I had been taught, that I want for my kids to be taught, And I was able to wake up every single day and think about how do we build things for kids that set them up for success beyond academics, beyond the classroom for when they leave the education and they go on past 12th grade. That excited me, and it still excites me 5 years later. Every single day that I wake up, I'm the director of the mentoring services program. We're now a team of over 35 mentors, and the reason it's so big is because we keep caseloads small because our team's mission is that we're going to get to know your child. We're going to get to see the unique gifts and talents and qualities in your child, so then we can help bring out and develop the best in them. And we see this, there's no mentor on this team that takes this lightly. We see this as what an opportunity that we've been given to help walk alongside a parent, walk alongside the teacher, and develop kids. And if you don't get excited about that every day you wake up, then I don't know what gets you excited. So
Love that, Logan. So I been in the virtual world for 10 years. And until I joined the Michigan International Prep School team, I had no idea what mentoring was or that mentoring existed. So can you sort of walk me through, like, how does that take education sort of to the next level? And what sort of gift are we giving kids and even their families by providing the service to them?
So when you have somebody who is solely focused on building that relationship, building the connection with the child, and then being a resource and advocate for them, whether that is getting them connected with teachers or getting them connected with somebody in their community that they need to connect with. When you have somebody it's a different lens that they can focus on when we're not focused on the curriculum end of things, we can really see the child from a different perspective. It includes things such as being a communicator with the parent. We call them the home coach, that allows them to know exactly where the child is at all times. Somebody that the parent or the child can call, get on a video meet in the lab at any time that they need, and talk about what's next, what are the next steps. Somebody that's there to help hold the child accountable. We talk a lot about, so we have a curriculum I might talk about more later called Skills for Life. And this is a curriculum that we spent a lot of time building specifically on the things that we wanted to see children leave here with. So there's about 9 months in the school year, and we have a theme for every single month. So when we kick off the school year in September, the very first one we have, the very first soft skill that we have is on goal setting, because we know that if we can teach kids to set effective goals for the life, that is going to be something that will set them up for success. So in September, we get on a video call just like this with a kid. We're talking about goal setting. We're talking about how do you set effective goals, right? So every month has a different theme, and really it's based around first building the relationship and the connection with the child, and then taking that and helping bring out the best in them and push themselves to go further than they ever thought they could. So.
Awesome. So Logan, I heard you mention they could meet them in learning labs. Tell me more about what is that and what does that mean?
Yeah, so we have ways to connect here just like this. We found very authentic ways to connect like this and have authentic relationships this way. But we also have learning labs through different parts of the state of Michigan. So we have one kind of the central Flint area. We have one up at Saginaw, Detroit, over in Rochester. And these are learning labs where you have mentors and different staff that are at them, that if a kid needs to come into a quiet space, if a child needs to come into a place where they can get some one-on-one help, one-on-one support, and have that personal connection, kids can come in there, have a very, very small staff to student ratio. We have, snacks in these learning labs. We have different fun activities that will kind of come in. The kids will come in, we'll set a goal with them. And if they hit that goal, then we'll be able to say, hey, we'll go play basketball for a little bit, or we'll take a break and we'll play this game together. But basically, it's a place where kids can come, a very safe place where kids can come and connect with mentors and other staff.
Awesome. Thank you. So Chambry, I want to jump over to you because you've got an incredible story. And if anybody on the call was at our National School Choice Week event back in January, you heard Chambry speak and you saw her beautiful girls with her and heard their amazing story. So can you walk us through what led you here? Because you're zoned into a school just like we all are, but you decided before school ever even started that you needed something different. So can you walk me through sort of what's your story and why are you here?
Yes, I'm here because I felt when my oldest daughter was starting school that we needed an alternative. She has a special background and she still has special needs. She's very forward in some places and then sometimes not so engaged. I'll say that word in other places. So I knew I needed an alternative, and I went out searching for something, and I came across another program. And I will be honest, it was an epic fail. It was bad, but I knew I was on the right path, and I was introduced to Lincoln Learning at the other program, and I loved that platform. So on a whim, I reached out to Lincoln Learning and asked if any other schools were using this platform. And in the conversation that I had with the representative, he asked me, had I ever heard of Michigan International Prep School? I told him I had not, but I wrote it down and I looked into it, and the rest is just history. So from kindergarten, my daughter will be starting fifth grade this year. From kindergarten to fifth grade, Miracle has been a student of Michigan International Prep School, and um, it has been absolutely the blessing that we needed for education. And I just got so excited listening um to Drew speak, because it's based off our family values. It's based off of everything that I needed for my daughters. They got it. And it has taught them to be such independent thinkers. And I love that about this program.
I've got to ask, like, so far in the journey, because you've been on this journey for quite a while now. What have you seen as like the biggest benefit that your girls have received by attending a fully virtual school?
The independent learning. They have to do it themselves. There is no other place. They can't look over and copy something off somebody's paper. They have to be accountable for doing it themselves. And it has taught them how to manage time, and it's taught them how to manage a syllabus. It's taught them how to use a Google Drive. A lot of the things that they use in school are the exact same things that I use at work. We use them all the same way. And so that makes them so capable of doing things in computers and technology and even in community, because they have to try a little harder to get community, and it pushes them, and then they get it. And it's I'm so glad to hear the goal setting, because that's what it is. It pushes them to do something, and then they do it, and then it's fulfillment for them. They've done it. So it's if I had to say it, it's the independent learning. It's them doing it in their way, in their style.
I love that. So I got to derail for a minute, because I think that something that has always drawn me to you since I was able to meet you long before I joined the MIPS family was that you are a strong advocate for your girls. And that can be scary. I know when I started sort of my advocacy journey, it's a scary thing. You don't know what you're doing. All you know is you want what's best for your kids. And there's can be obstacle after obstacle. But you managed to sort of fight through that and figure out what you need, and then continue on to help now fight for other families as well. What would you tell any of the parents that are sitting here that are just like, oh, I'm just afraid, or I don't know where to start, or how do you do this? What sort of advice would you have for them in their own journey?
I would say make the call. First, make the call, because that's what I did. I made a call, and there was someone there happily ready to walk me through the steps. And MIPS has provided so much support. I every year the school starts, I lock in the teacher's number in my phone, and I lock in the mentor, and they are available for texting and everything. Anytime you have a question or need some type of support, they are there. And I can honestly say that they have been there for 5 years. I have not encountered a time when someone wasn't there to offer support. So even in terms of feeling like overwhelmed or something like that, that how am I going to teach my child? For me, when it's time for Miracle's math lesson, I'm calling a mentor, and sometimes she will walk me through it real quick because I have forgotten certain things. And so the support is there. So I would say make the call and let someone, take you through the steps, because they're there and they're willing to help.
Thank you. So I want to throw it out to all of you. There's 15 now virtual schools, fully virtual schools in Michigan. What makes Michigan International Prep School unique? Why should somebody consider maybe looking into this school as opposed to one of the other 14 virtuals that are out there? And I'll let you guys rock, paper, scissors for who'd like to go first to answer that.
Drew, why don't you kick us off on that one?
I was going to throw it to you because I think really our differentiating factor is our mentoring program. I think that attention to the family and the family needs is really a separation. And we really don't try and put a family in a cookie cutter curriculum where, you know, they're just going to follow, you know, a pre-designed canned program. We're really trying to make sure that we're in constant communication with families to make sure that we're delivering what they need more than just what the curriculum's designed to deliver. And so we have, with all the number of teachers that we have the ability to really customize some of that curriculum to make sure it fits what the family needs. And the theme I think that you'll hear from us over and over and over is we're here to design a learning environment for what a family is looking for. And so I think that's a really different approach than maybe what some of the other virtual schools are looking at, is we really want to partner with that family and we really want to offer them that customized, we call it the EduCare plan of how do we plan their learning environment. And so I'll leave it there, but I may come back to some of our our wraparound services for student support as well, if Logan or Miss Mack don't already beat me to it. So I'll let one of you go next.
Go ahead,
So,
Jamie.
okay, if I had to answer the question, if I was speaking, I would say it would be from personal experience, what I've seen. I've been, we as a family have been there for, this will be our 6th year. So I've watched the growth and I've watched how MIPS has made strides to become better. I've seen it with my own eyes. So I would take it from personal experience because we've experienced such a community within this school. I can remember back to when my daughter was like in kindergarten and her teacher sent her birthday cards and different things of that nature. And it was, I know that sometimes people will think that there is no personality or personalization or anything, but it is such one, because that was actually the first piece of mail that Miracle ever received, and it just made her, she still has it now. So I would say that the attention that is given to personality, to individualism, is the reason that I would suggest someone to choose MIPS over another school. I can only go by my personal experience, and I can't personally say enough great things about this school program.
Yeah, I agree with both those things. I'm going to take it kind of from a different, kind of down to kind of a roots. And that is that when I first came on board, the one thing that Drew always said is the first thing we look for when we're hiring is character. So we can teach things, we can train things, we can train a lot of things, but one thing that's really, really, really hard to train, especially in adults, is their character. And so the hiring starts with looking at character. It's a very intentional process. We can have the greatest systems, the greatest things, the greatest technology in place all day. But what it really is going to drive, at the end of the day, going to drive families, going to drive kids forward are people, and people who care, and people with good character. So I would say what sets us apart as Michigan National Prep School is that is our focus when we're hiring, and that has never failed us. And that is something that has been set from the beginning.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I want to introduce real quick, Lynn Aronoff just jumped on. She is our executive director over here at PACE. So Lynn, thanks for joining us. We're having a great conversation here and excited to have you jump in.
Thank you so much. I have nothing to jump in on except that if Andrew's going to be on a Zoom, I'm not missing it. Even with the flat tire and everything else going on, I go where Andrew's going. So, and I love MIPS. MIPS is a phenomenal school. I don't want to brag, but I was a speaker at their graduation 2 years ago. I'm gunning for an honorary PhD at some point. But no, it's been fabulous. The stories that have come out of MIPS of folks that would not be returning to school or able to continue with their education without a resource like MIPS and the people who care so much about the kids who are learning there. It's a phenomenal a phenomenal school, and I love the in-person ability there as well, and just everybody going above and beyond.
I love that. So guys, I want to kind of jump a different direction. I know that especially throughout COVID, there's been sort of this misconception of what is a true virtual school versus maybe what was received during COVID. But looking just kind of like overarching, what are the biggest misconceptions you've heard that you'd like to sort of debunk today for our listeners? So Drew, if we want to start with you again, since Logan chose you last time, we'll just start with you. Biggest misconception, and how would you like to address it?
All right, I had two, and I'm gonna go with one, and I'll leave the other one for Logan. I think that there's a misconception that what families saw in during COVID or during our pandemic was that there was a lack of skill on how to deliver content online. And I think for the years that we've been doing it, we've really honed our skill, and we've spent a lot of time discussing how do you structure a live learning session that allows kids, all the students, to be able to participate. And I just got a side note. I get a chance every year to observe our teachers during the evaluation process. And the thing that we never ever see is any type of bullying. And I can tell you that the last class I sat in, there was such a camaraderie of the students that I almost thought I was joining a club or something where everybody had the same mission, vision, and passion. But no, it was an English language arts class in 7th grade, and they were as coherent and consistent and collaborating. It was by far amazing. And I think that's part of what is a misconception out there is you can't have collaboration, you can't have group work, you can't have social interactions. And of course it's easy. You just Google all the answers, right? Well, I want to tell you that when we talk to our alumni that come back and speak to us, they always tell us, I was more prepared than my peers to go to college. I knew how to manage my time management better. I was organized. I knew how to speak to my professors because I had to advocate for myself in my 9th through 12th grade years. And so there's skills, and Logan talked about these earlier, these soft skills that these students are developing that their peers were not seeing come out of. And so I know the traditional schools are trying to address that, but we found ways to integrate it into how we serve families. And so it's not quite as easy as people like to think it is. And those skills that they need to go on to the next phase of life, they're getting here and really excelling in that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll spin off a little bit on that, what Drew said. I had two as well, but the biggest one for me is that kind of to take back where he finished his was that students aren't socially and they're just not prepared for what comes next. And you heard me talk in the beginning of this, that my passion and the whole idea of the mentoring program is that students are gaining those skills. And so I want you to think about it. I'll just take you for a moment what it looks like for a student here. Okay, so they come in on Monday morning to school, and we have a calendar set up for them, and they are getting their week prepared with a routine developing scheduler. And we're talking about what time you're setting your alarm for the next morning because you have a live lesson the next morning. We're showing them the steps to the responsibility for when mom and dad ultimately aren't there, and they got to be there for their job, and they have to be on time, and they have to have these routines developed because of the environment that we're naturally set up for. These are skills that they naturally develop here. And Chambria even brought up that one of her favorite things is that her kids are developing those independent habits, those independent things. And so by being able to put a focus on that, and when a kid leaves here and they end up going to work and they have to say, I'm on my own and I'm gotta go be successful in the world. I know how to look at a calendar. I know how to prioritize my day because I was in an environment where I was shown that constantly because I had to have that to be successful as a virtual learner.
Cambria, anything to add?
Yeah, if I could go back to COVID, I would like to say as a parent, I found myself in a position where the world was crazy, but my kids were anchored because they were already on this ship, whereas everybody else was kind of jumping on a ship. So we as a family, even my girls with their cousins and things like that, they were showing them how to do this because we already knew. So we spent a lot of time in COVID showing like family members and neighbors and friends and things like that how to use Zoom and how to do that. We had already, navigated that ship. So um I would also like to say that um the biggest misconception that I think also is that there is a lack of like socializing and things of that nature. But what I think on terms of what MIPS offer is a grander scale of socializing. Whereas if my children went to a school that was right here in this community, they would be socializing with people right here in this community. What MIPS does is that my girls socialize with people that are on the other side of Michigan, that are outside of Michigan, and they're going places that they may not have ever went. It took them from socializing just here to a much broader. And so, and then there's the, like we spoke on the learning labs where they can go and do that basketball and different things and like that. So it's there. And the greatest thing is that you can use it at your disposal, how you feel is needed, once a week, twice a week, once a month, however you feel it's needed, it's there. So I think when I am confronted with different things from different parents, I think that's the biggest thing is that they are not getting that socializing, but it's on a grander scale, and it's, to me, it's on a much more real world scale because they have to press just a little bit harder to get to something, but it's available to them on a broader scale. So my kids play with neighborhood kids, but they also have the friend that lives near Fort Huron like that. And I really like that.
I love that. So you guys, something that Lynn and I have been talking about lately is how it seems easy to talk about school choice when we talk about maybe like our inner city settings where maybe there is bullying or there's not, quality school to choose from. So maybe that's why students are choosing a different option. But we've also started talking about like, what about our rural kids? Because we look at, there's sort of that misconception around virtuals that we get all the kids that have been bullied. We get we've taken all the high achieving kids. We've, whatever it may be, those sort of stigmas. Talk me through like who else do we serve? So like for instance, I know that I spoke to a student recently who just in my household right now we're getting ready for the county fair. And so it's all 4-H all day long right now in my household. And there are some students that attend Michigan International Prep School who would rather be with their animals all day long, and they want to be in the barn and they want to do their work when they can do their work, and they want to go show their cattle every weekend. And they're going big places in the agricultural community. And because they have this flexible schedule, they're able to go and do these different things. I know that there's an amazing partnership with USA Hockey where our elite athletes are coming in and needing a place where they can go to be successful, without having the limitations of an 8 to 3 school day in a brick and mortar building. So walk me through what are some of the other stories that you've heard, the other types of students that are joining us that maybe folks aren't thinking about in the grand scheme of who school choice works for.
Over to me first, huh? Okay, so I have one of the unique opportunities when students come to our school. We get a plethora of information about why they're at our school, and I will handpick a mentor based on all that information. So I get a very good look at what's bringing kids to our school. One of the categories that I've seen come in a lot so far this fall is actually NCAA students. So a lot of hockey players, traveling soccer players, traveling baseball players, things like that. We're seeing a lot of that come through. One of the reasons we're seeing that is basically word of mouth because we have a lot of hockey players that are being taken care of here that understand the flexibility and are being successful. So we're seeing that grow a lot. And so, yeah, a lot of students that are doing sports who need flexibility is something that we are seeing a lot this fall come to our school. But we've also seen other very unique things, such as gifted musicians children who have some gifts in different music or different art talents, that they travel around for that. We've seen some really unique situations with students that need flexibility and the ability to do what they're doing. And it's been really cool to see the different families come in. I don't know, Drew, if you've seen any other examples that I'm not thinking of right now, but it's been a plethora of different reasons why students have come here.
No, I agree. And I think a lot of that has to do with the flexibility of us being able to, customize whatever the needs of that student and family are. The one thing I think I would add is in the rural communities, you're limited to the class offerings by the number of teachers and the type of teachers you can attract and the certifications that you can afford to employ. With our scale and our size, we're able to offer virtual options or class opportunities like a game design that you typically wouldn't be able to offer in a traditional high school, because it would be difficult to find a teacher with that certification. It would be difficult to fill the class for a whole full hour with 35 to 40 kids. And so we're able to offer languages, different electives, higher level courses that a rural school may not be able to offer. And one thing here at MIPS that we really shy away from the advanced placement courses, not because there's anything wrong with them, but we're really trying to set students up for their next in their college advancement. And so we really wanted to take dual enrollment courses. And we've spent a lot of time developing relationships with local colleges so that we can increase the opportunities for high school students to take college courses. And currently, every family or every student has the opportunity to take up to 10 dual enrollment courses during their high school career, unless they're in an early college. Well, the school has the ability to waive that. And we actually waive that for a number of students because we're willing to pay for more than 10 college courses because we want what's best for that child. So if they're on pace to go to a 4-year institution and they want to major in something that is going to require a bachelor's degree, we want to get them started on that as early as 10th grade. Let's start taking some of those early electives and some of those college courses, and let's get you there so that when you leave us, you're 30, 40 credits into your college degree. And so that's one thing that we're willing to do, budgetary wise, is continue to pay for dual enrollment, where some of your other schools and traditional districts might not want to spend the money for that.
So you brought up a couple of things for me that I want to sort of go back on. I've been taking notes here as you're talking. One thing is, I know that another sort of stigma that's out there, something that definitely COVID, I think, brought to the forefront for families, is the mental health sort of crisis with our students. How can a virtual school or how is Michigan International Prep School helping students who come in who maybe need some extra supports with their mental health or need that safe space? How are we seeing a fit there for those students?
Okay, I'm going to take an hour presentation down to 30 seconds here. We've really designed a student support team, which is composed of multiple different teams making up one support structure. And so we have a really robust, and Logan mentioned this earlier, onboarding process where there's a number of questions in the application that is given to both Logan and the future mentor. And they have a full understanding of some of the reasons why a student's come here. What are some of the areas that they're concerned about? And are there mental health concerns, or has there been a parent lost in the last year or 2 or 3? What are some of those areas where they might be barriers to learning? And so our job is to identify those barriers to learning. And we've brought on 3 clinical social workers on our staff, and we have a number of individuals that are trained in ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, and mental health first aid. And so we're really working to train our staff and our team, how to identify it right as they're coming in, because we want to get in front of potential issues. We don't want to wait until those issues start to rise through the ranks as they're struggling. We want to be able to get in front of that, set plans ahead, work with the family to address any needs that could be a barrier to learning. And if the trauma or the incidences that have caused some trouble or some mental health challenges, if they're extreme, we've partnered with an outside organization that helps us really counsel and treat those students that are on the extreme level of really, we've had individuals that are struggling to to turn on their computer because they just can't get out of bed in the morning. And so we've got to get them to that point where they can do learning before we can expect them to learn. And so we've got to address some of Maslow's concerns or hierarchy of needs before we can get into Bloom's taxonomy.
Awesome, thank you. So I know another stigma too is that I hear about virtual school sometimes is that like, how do you possibly learn that online? And I know that MIPS has an incredible School of the Arts program. Can Logan or Drew or even Chambray, I know your girls are a part of it as well, walk me through what is that program and how is that working online?
I'll start us off on that one. Drew brought up earlier when we were talking about having classrooms where there was a community forming. One of the ways we've really seen that is through our arts program. We have music, theater, art, includes things such as world drumming. It includes guitar. So if you're a student who signs up for guitar, piano, vocal, or world drumming, you get basically a free one-on-one lesson every single week where you are working with an instructor on that. But then you also come and meet in a cohort where you're meeting with the other students and you're meeting throughout the entire year. You have a community that's built, that's formed around that and doing music together and working on music together. And it is it is such an amazing program where kids are coming together. And then we'll even have, some of that cross sometimes where you can have vocalists work with guitarists, work with pianists and create that. And then in our theater program, they build a online play. And you wonder, how does that work? But I'll tell you what, they can pull all those clips together and create quite an awesome play in our theater program and use a variety of talent for that. So Chambria, I know it looks a little different in the K-5 realm with your kids, but I'll let you kind of talk about what that looks like for them.
I was literally thinking about the theater because Miracle did the play last year. So she had a part and her teacher recorded her doing the part and then she did exactly as she said, put it together. And the cool thing about it is it's downloadable so that you can watch it again. And I know ever since Miracle may have been in 2nd grade, she has been looking forward to getting into 5th grade so she could take the piano lessons that you just described. So she's going into 5th grade this year. And as soon as she got the email about signing up, what you want, she said, I'm taking the piano lessons. This is what I want. So both my girls are very artistic. So they love this program. So yeah, they both have taken all of them. And I am looking forward to watching the piano lessons come to part. I mean, it's great. The recorder is good, but I'm looking forward to the piano a little bit more than the recorder.
Yeah, I would just add a couple more items is that we're so many people looked at us when we said, hey, we're going to start a music school in an art school virtually, that we were a little off our kilter. And so it's been a lot of planning, a lot of brainstorming, but down to the point where Logan and our director of the arts, Christopher Card, actually drive pianos around the state in the month of August and drop them off at families' homes, to the point where we had a family living in a hotel, and you know what? There's no barrier to getting to yes. And there is now a piano in that hotel room. And because we want every student to have the opportunity to participate in any program we offer. And so we really try and eliminate any barriers, even down to if a student wants to take a guitar, we give them a guitar to play, and we'll mail it to their home and make sure that they're able to do that. Last year, we had some of our elevated arts students actually take green screens home. And so they were able to really start recording in a really professional kind of format. And so we're dedicated to making these classes very successful, and we're willing to put the resources behind making them really, really successful.
Awesome. So you guys, I know that we're running short on time. I want to throw out a couple more things and then give you kind of each a minute to sort of wrap up your thoughts. And now I've lost my thought all of a sudden here. We were talking about School of the Arts. It's gone, guys. I should have wrote it down. So one thing I didn't write down. Well, let me throw it back at you. Let me give you each a minute if there's some sort of final words you want to leave our listeners with, and I will try to regain my thoughts here to finalize the one question I had left. So Drew, kick us off. Sort of final thoughts.
I'll say that I love what I do. There's not a job that, it's a job, but at the same token, it's not a job, it's a passion. We get to serve people. And really, when I made a change when I was at the age of 23, my commitment the rest of my life was, how do I get to impact people for the good and really help people, work through lives and the challenges that we face every day. And every family needs something different. And so, again, I love to listen to Chambria talk about the opportunities that our girls are excited for, because that's exactly what we live and we pray and we brainstorm for is how do we get kids excited to learn? And if there's a barrier, how do we help them remove that barrier so that they can get excited to learn? And so it really is a passion. And yeah, we love what we do, and we love innovating and finding creative ways to get a student excited about learning.
I remember my thoughts before Logan and Chambria go. And Drew, I will piggyback to you for the final words when we wrap up. You talk about this no barriers. We find a way to have no barriers for students who enroll with Michigan International Prep School. What are we seeing with our adult learners? Are we helping adult learners as well? What's our program allow us to do, and how is that going?
Yeah, that's been a challenge, with no doubt about it, because we'll typically get a 19, 20-year-old student that are coming to us with 5 or 6 credits. And so it's really a challenge. But we have dedicated full-time staff. We've designed a program that allows them to work through some work-based learning opportunities, to get creative, to work year-round in the summer, to work ahead. And their mentors typically work in the afternoons and evenings. We know that many times they're working a full-time job. And so we've really designed how we support them around what their needs are. Again, our theme is, let's talk to them, let's find out what their needs are, and having availability in the evenings was really a top priority. And they need full synchronous or full asynchronous learning typically. And so our teachers need to be adapted to how do I make a student successful or help them be successful through an asynchronous platform in the evenings where most of our other students are working during the day. And I'll pass it to Logan because I know he works really intimately with this group and he can add to it.
Yeah, I'll kind of start off there, then I'll do my final thoughts as well, if that's okay, Amy. The adult learning space is something, when I first came on board and was a mentor here, it was something that I became. I was an adult learning mentor. I was actually kind of working into the shift, the second shift. I started here as a second shift mentor because we had these adult learners who were working full-time jobs, who were paying rent, who couldn't talk during the day because they were working just like we are, and needed somebody to talk to later in the evening. And to see kids walk across that stage, adults walk across that stage who came to us and everybody else said they're done, 0%, it's over, there's no more chance for graduation, and to see them graduate, maybe we graduate 35% of the adult learners that come to us in that scenario. That's 35% of what was 0%. And that is really special. And to see them and hear some of the things that they've gone on to do with that diploma, and it's really cool. And I think that's kind of my final thought too, is when we had our mid-year enrollment last year, we had about 180 students enroll with us. And we were going through and doing the initial process of looking at why they came to us, doing our proactive, getting them set up in the system and getting them set up with the supports they need. We identified 120 of those 180 students had nowhere else to go in mid-year. So when we had them come mid-year and 120 of the 180 didn't have another place to go at that point in the year, wouldn't have gotten an education the second half of the year. And this could be due to extreme bullying, extreme medical, extreme situations. And we got to provide an education for those students that didn't have another option in the second half of the year, and got to meet them where they were at. That was a really special opportunity for us that we didn't take lightly.
Thanks, Logan. I got the chills sitting here. Chambria, final thoughts?
I saw a quick question popped up about the curriculum, and I just wanted to say that every year around August, we start to receive the curriculum, and it's always exciting. And I chose to sit here on purpose because this is where we put all the things that we get from MIPS on this wall. So it's so beneficial to the girls to have everything they need, but it's also beneficial to me as a parent because I don't have to worry about getting it. It comes in the mail. Everything that they need comes in the mail. So I kind of just wanted to close with how beneficial it is for parents. There is so much flexibility in this. And those of us that work and do multiple things, the time schedule is so flexible. When I have to go, I pack MIPS up and MIPS goes out of town with me. It's just like that flexibility. I couldn't I can't even I couldn't imagine life without it. So I'm just totally grateful for this program and I appreciate you all for all the things that you do.
Awesome. Thank you. So yes, I do want to jump over. If anybody else has any other questions, please go ahead and throw them in the chat pod. And I don't know, Logan or Drew, if you wanted to add any more. And I see Drew jumped in the chat pod there. The question was asked, is there a curriculum? Is it provided or is it all online? So anything that either of you want to add about that?
Yeah, so I'll say everything's provided. Families don't need to bring anything with them except the desire to learn and a student with them. And so we deliver Chromebooks, internet if needed, and all the curriculum. Part of that onboarding, robust onboarding that I was talking about was determining what curriculum would best fit the family. And so there's usually a lot of conversations that are occurring as far as, whether it's an asynchronous, move at your own pace type learning, or if it's synchronous and live learning sessions are being conducted and you're kind of following the class along the process. And so I would just encourage anybody with any questions, call our main line. Our individuals are happy to answer those questions. And if it's a question they can't answer, they'll get you in contact with our Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Awesome. So Drew, with that, I'm going to wrap us up here. If people want more information about Michigan International Prep School, where should they go? And then go ahead and what are your final thoughts to wrap us up there?
So miprepschool.org is where we are. Please check us out. Our main business office is in Davison, Michigan. So just outside of Flint. But we did mention earlier that we had learning labs kind of spread out as well. And so we'd love to have any interested, drop into one of our labs to check them out and see what those offerings look like. But I'll just tell you that ultimately Michigan International Prep School is the whole mission and core values is serving families first. We need to understand who our family is and what their needs are before we can really get specific on a lot of what we can offer. We said earlier that we really try and get to yes, because there might be a need that we haven't experienced before, but it's not to say that we won't try and find a way to serve that need as well. And so we love the opportunity and the challenge to find new ways to serve families. So challenge us and please stop by and check us out, and we're happy to meet you.
So I want to thank you three again, Logan, Chambria, and Drew, for being here today and great insight on virtual schools here in Michigan, and specifically Michigan International Prep School. Thank you to all of you that joined us today. Don't forget to head on over to mipace.org/membership to sign up for your free membership and be put into the raffle prize today. And put the next date on your calendar to continue on with our school choice sort of season here. We're going to be looking at non-public schools in August. So looking at August 30th, we're going to talk to some non-public schools and look at what do non-publics have to offer in Michigan. So again, thank you everybody and have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see everybody in August.